Hi, my name is Kraai. You might know me better as Kraai the Comedian, Kraai Du Toit.
Gentlemen, welcome to the stage, all the way from Pretoria, Kraai Du Toit!
I am also an avid software developer and solutions architect, and in this series, I am Kraai the Coding Guy. Welcome to this episode where we're discussing Nuget packages and the advantages of building Nuget packages for your repos. Now, some people call it Nuget, some people call it Nugget, some people call it Fugget. I don't know. Nuget packages and our advantages building code faster for your development. So here's a little problem we're facing today. A lot of the projects share similar functionality or capabilities, and a lot of the time there's different code bases for this code across departments and across development projects. Even if this code base is shared as a separate project, reference to the project must be made in all other projects, and this can become a Git nightmare and especially a Docker nightmare. Now, if you haven't done that before, you'll know that Docker cannot go outside of its root file. Now, we can overcome this barrier of duplication of code by implementing a private NuGet repository where we build a code library. We enforce standards and a single code component set for all to be reused. If we think of a microservice architecture, we think of small systems that can be run, tested, and modified independently. Now, by compiling your code into smaller NuGet packages, we are basically doing the same thing on a code level. We share some of the same benefits and speed up your development time. Now, the overall benefits of having a NuGet code library on premises and your own code library. First, it's reuse of code. Our functionality is packaged into a small package that can be accessed into any project. Let's take the example of an email function. Now, I've worked on many projects in many companies and in many departments. And every now and again, I get into a small email function. And then there's like 15 different variations of the small email function. A developer actually had to write that code where if he had a NuGet package, he could just use that standard NuGet package and reuse that code. Obviously, that leads to point two, faster development. If I don't have to rewrite that function, I can reuse that same function that's already been used and just pull it from the library. Obviously, that brings us to number three, which is the easier testing. I can test my code easier, have the small piece of code being tested individually instead of being tested in a whole monolithic system. One of my favorites is enforcing the solid principle. A solid principle part is the singularity responsibility, because if your code is packaged into NuGet, it means that that specific code has a single responsibility. Version control, the one thing that all developers hate. Well, version control is very easy in NuGet packages. Although each system has its own version control for rollback, by enforcing a package code, we need to maintain versioning of packages for new NuGet packages to be built. Now this enforces your code to be actually versioned. We reduce the recovery time to objective, in other words, rollbacks. If I have an application that uses this NuGet package and 10 other applications, or let me rather say 10 applications that use the same NuGet package, and one out of that 10 gets an error, I don't have to roll back the entire 10 applications. I can just roll back the one application's NuGet package to the previous version. Which brings me to the next point. NuGet packages is versioned, so we can quickly upgrade and downgrade versions in the code without doing coding. You just downgrade the NuGet package or upgrade it, depending on what you need. If you take our mail and NuGet package as an example that I used earlier, if a newer version is rolled out to 10 projects and a new mailer function for this new mailer function, but only one of that projects encounter an error, You don't have to roll back other 9 projects. You can roll back the Nuget version for that one project and then work on that project until the issues has been resolved. Together with the RTO, project rollouts can be scaled per need. If one project is ready for deployment with new changes, but project 2 will only be ready in 6 months, project 2 can continue to work on an older version of the Nuget package until it's ready to deploy and use the new Nuget package. Code control. With Devops, we can set up an approval before code can be changed or pushed to a Nuget package. This will enforce us that code can be reviewed and on a small scale, which means it'll also be quicker to review the code. The docking issue. Now, whatever you do, don't Google two guys docking. Currently, containerization in an application in Docker will give you an error if a project is referenced outside of the root directory of Docker, because Docker does not have permissions to pull the project outside of the root. With NuGet packages, we can prevent this by actually just pulling a library into the package, into your project, and having that pulled via the Docker library. Let's look at the following project that we have right here. It's a simple project. We have a library converter, message converter object. All it does is it takes a string and convert that JSON string to an XML file, nothing major. However, if we want to use this in our other application, I've just written a function app, we normally have to add the dependency on the project, like so. This simple function app just converts JSON objects to XML, nothing fancy. Alright, so now we're in Devops, and one of the part of Devops to create our NuGet package, we are going to create an artifact first. Once you're an artifact, create a feed. Let's call this feed for our purposes test feed. I'm going to make it organization wide, or you can make it per project, and we create the feed. Oh, that feed already exists. Let's call it test feed for demo. Okay, so there's our test feed for demo. You can go into the settings if you want. I would advise copying this text file over here. We can have set us some permissions. I would allow this part here, allow project scope builds to be on, as this is going to be quite useful later on. First thing we're going to create into our file is a YAML file. You can just create a Azure pipeline.yaml file that is for our pipeline to kick off. We are going to use a VM image of Windows latest, and our configuration is going to be released. So when it builds, it's going to build us up. Then we are going to build our project. Make sure that the project name is equal to the same project name that you have for the library you want to build. And we are going to package the image. Make sure that you have the same package in there. Okay, once we have our application packaged, we are going to use a NuGet push command, and we are going to push it to the to what we called previously in our pipeline, in our artifacts. As we see the artifact demo that we create, we add the artifact in there. Okay, so once we're going to do that, we're going to say it's going to be an internal push, and we are going to push it through to the value over there. Our job is initializing and our build is kicking off, so we should see our step that we've created before. We are checking out our code out of our repo. We are doing a .NET build. We are packaging our file. We are doing our NuGet push. And NuGet push has saved. And we're doing and now it's just finalizing our status of our job. And as you can see, the job went through successfully. If we now go to artifacts, we should see under our new feed that we've created our test feed for demo. We should see our package being added in there. It was added right now on version 1. And now we need to connect to this package. So we click on connect to feed. We can see in .NET or Visual Studio how we do it. If we click Visual Studio, we can copy the JSON file over there. Go to our library. And in our test function, instead of our project, we can delete that project. We can actually now go to our Nuget package manager. And we say tools, settings, go to our sources, we click add, we add a new source, we call this demo, and we say OK. From our tools, we just make 100% sure that we do have the correct one selected. Okay, we have the demo one on. Oops, why the name is wrong? That's fine. So let's go and find our Nuget package. We browse for it, and we should be able to see our messaging coming up. There's only one package in our library so far, and that's the one we just pushed. We can install this package. As you see, we still got an error because we removed the project. That error soon disappears the moment we added our converted text library. Now the function should work as normal with no references to this project whatsoever. And we should be able to use the same functionality, and we get the same functionality.